Hello guys, welcome back. I'm gonna show you a new build today. I just did a video on Final Measure Healer, which focuses around the ally heal and the defib. But in this video I'm gonna talk about my Final Measure Pulse build, which I've been playing with lately, and I like it much better than the Final Measure Healer. The reason behind this is when I try to play a support build, most of the options in the division focus around the healing capabilities. You know, the Final Measure Healer, Reclaimer with the Support Station and stuff like that. But what I want to be able to do is I want to bring to the table something more than just the 6-piece bonus, something more than just some additional heals. I want to bring a lot of damage to the table. I want to make sure that I'm an essential part of the team. I want to make sure my DPS players really like to play with me, and I want to make sure I can put a lot of buffs on top of my teammates. So the reason I'm running with the pulse and I'm focusing around the pulse is because with the rise of the new type of classified builds, not many skilled builds are out there that actually utilizes the pulse. So when a team, like most teams don't even have a conceal, but when a team does have conceal, it's usually on one of their striker players, which runs around with like 80k skill power, and that means that they can't keep up the pulse for the most part of the time. So it's like what 20-30% uptime, but since we have 100% uptime on our pulse, we can get value out of it most of the time. And when fighting like against multiple players, you can bet that this pulse is gonna do some work, because there's no chance that like they all have conceal. Even if they do, it's not gonna be up for very long, and you can keep spamming the pulse. So that's why I've been really enjoying the pulse play lately, and I'm just gonna explain how I built the build. Just FYI, this is not a build for like the players who are just getting into PvP. You need to have some experience with it. You need to know how to survive on basically no health or stamina whatsoever. It's like a must for a healer. I mean, most healer builds don't really utilize that much stamina anyways, but you really need to know how to survive, how to strafe. That's why it's better in a group. You can, run around your teammates, but you still need to be on the front lines to catch some nades as well. So it's a really tricky set to play, especially the way I run it, with like everything into electronics, as you can see. So let's dive into the build real quick. Check out the pieces, health and skill haste with electronics on the Final Measure West. We got skill power, burn resistant electronics on the mask, health, burn, bleed, disorient and electronics on the knee pads, health and disrupt resistance on the backpack, skill haste, crit chance and assault rifle damage and electronics on the gloves, and skill haste on the holster. Also, all mods with electronics plus skill haste, as you can see. So this gives me about 40% skill haste, and all performance mods with 2% pulse crit hit damage. So in total this gives us 8% more pulse critical hit damage, which is pretty good, I would say. And using all of that, trying to get some toughness with the health rolls, but pushing everything into electronics. We are sitting at 318,000 skill power, which gives us a pulse of 31% crit chance, which is really good, because usually when DPS players like run striker crit builds, they have around 30% crit chance on their assault rifles. So this additional 30% gets them to the 60% cap, so nothing is wasted, pretty good. Then 50% additional crit damage is also really strong. This sits on a 20-second duration with a 22-second cooldown, but then we also have the heal we can use for triage. So this basically means we always have the pulse up 100% of the time. And what it doesn't say here, it does say in the description of the tactical scanner, on top of the crit chance and the crit damage, the tactical scanner actually applies a 5% multiplicative damage buff to pulse targets. So that damage buff is also multiplicative with the striker stacks, which makes it that much stronger. So that's why pulse is a really good pickup when running a high skill power build. Then the overdose is simply here because this gives us full health from basically 0 health on one click, and it allows us to survive for much longer. This is actually the main tool we use to keep ourselves alive. This is not for teammates, remember? I mean, they can run into it obviously, but this is for yourself. Don't waste it when you're like on full health or something. This is for you to survive. Then this pulse is for teammates to do some crazy damage. For talents, I run Adrenaline, Triage, Combat Medic, and Strike Back as usual. Survivability, nothing too crazy here. Um, and obviously the nade catch is also really good. Usually catch a frag grenade, 40% damage, multiplicative, then use the pulse on top of that. On top of your striker players, I mean everything is gonna basically melt, I can assure you. That's why I've been really enjoying the pulse build lately. I mean everyone I played with, I got some positive feedback as well. So I believe it's much better than the Final Measure Healer, if you can play it right. The weapons I use, nothing special, talented, competent, responsive. If you use Survival Link and Push, I can swap to this one to do some damage. Usual one, talented, determined, just to get my ultimate back faster. A weapon with Cool Headed, just to headshot some NPCs between fights to get my ult back. Just utility here, nothing out of the ordinary. And that's pretty much the build. I really enjoy it. I can advise you to try it. It's really good, and you'll know what I mean once you try it. Seriously, give it a shot. The Final Measure Pulse build is pretty good.